I did want to let you, before we let you go, about Boogie Cousins, because we expected him to be such a big player and how teams behaved this coming summer. Obviously tore the Achilles 2 weeks ago. This is a devastating injury. I cannot explain enough to people who only casually watch how these comings and goings in the NBA work. If you are over 25 years old and this happens to you, you could not be the same player ever again. It is a hard recovery. How do you expect it to change the way teams approach him, even New Orleans?
Well, you're right, Rachel. I mean, the track record is not good for bigs, especially coming from off an Achilles injury. And before the injury, he had a 5-year, $175 million, basically blank check to return to New Orleans. And I think that will certainly change when we get into the offseason, and especially where his recovery is. I don't see a team going out the Wes Matthews route like Dallas did a couple years ago. Matthews was coming off that Achilles, and they went out and signed him for 4 years, $70 million. I think it's a big investment for a team. For New Orleans, if you miss out on Cousins, who is out there to replace him if he does come back healthy because of their high salary? So I think you've got to be cautious there. I would even almost go down the 1 year route with him, almost use next season as a redshirt year.
I mean, it's amazing. If you think of Boogie, all the years in Sacramento, the question, is the problem Boogie or is it the Kings? They split up. Both parties seem, frankly, better for having split up. Boogie, only good things that Alvin Gentry and his crew had to say about the way DeMarcus was acting within that team. Anthony Davis, so happy with them. They were on their way to historic numbers as a pair. It can all go away like that. Bobby, thank you very much. We will be talking to you about free agency. Plenty more as this season rolls on because it's never too soon. Thank you. I do want to get your thoughts, Fizz, on all of this because I could tell your face when Boogie came up.
Well, that Achilles tendon injury, I just had Mario Chalmers come back. It took him 18 months. 18 months. And even then, early on, it's still, you could see, just getting back in the rhythm, getting your legs under you, trusting the Achilles again. And now Boogie, he's a big guy. He's going to really have to commit to losing weight, get his diet right, and then it's going to be what are teams willing to pay and willing to take the risk and how much they're willing to put into it. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really hoping the kid can come back because, like you said, watching those two guys together, it was just so fun to watch. And, I hope it works out where he can get back and get healthy and hopefully join back up with AD.
Well, he's definitely have a long uphill battle. The Achilles, the weight, those are going to be uphill battles for him. And it's going to be a challenge to whether he's going to get a huge contract going forward or he's going to have to settle. And a lot of players get in this situation sometime. They get fat. They never really regain that dominance that they had. And in Boogie's situation, I mean, throughout his career, he's always been a lot of talk about how he act off the court, what kind of player is he?
He keeps himself
yes, and in the locker room. But, we've seen on the basketball court what this kid can do. And we totally believe that there's still some upside to his career. But the thing is whether or not he can overcome this injury, and it is a huge challenge. I
mean, Boogie Cousins, Isaiah Thomas, Brian, it is great demonstration of how things can change in the NBA. We've been talking on this whole show. Isaiah Thomas in Boston, still at the fringe of that MVP discussion, and now he's on his second team, and people are talking about, is he going to be coming off the bench? Boogie Cousins, when he was in Sacramento, his agent wanted him to stay in Sacramento to get that supermax. The money difference between that and what you think he might end up getting this summer, I mean,
that is why
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Always feel good for these guys when they get taken care of because you know what sort of risk they have and that they are one step away from having a career-altering injury. And Boogie, unlike so many of these guys that have options in their contracts, like, if there would be an injury, to Paul George, for example, he has an option. LeBron has an option. All these other guys have options. Boogie does not have that option in his contract. When you talk about this, it's not just a Boogie discussion. It's also an Anthony Davis discussion because the whole league is swimming like sharks around the Pelicans saying, when is Anthony Davis going to get fed up and be put on the market and we can attack? Because that's what happens in the league. And so as the Pelicans go forward here, they have to consider, well, we want to do what's right for our franchise. And we want to protect our franchise, but we also have to keep Anthony Davis here in New Orleans. He does have multiple years left on his contract, but as we've seen, the contract is over when the talent says it's over. And so it's not just Boogie they have to manage Anthony Davis as well.
You're saying that Danny Ainge might already have the private plane booked.
I'll tell you something. If you're in New Orleans and the phone rings from Boston, just don't pick it up.